Hi, does my hair look good? Should I go with a hat or no hat?
I think you should go with that voice.
Hat? Oh, like hat? Shop, everybody. A little hoodie on top of it. Man, I can't put enough shit on. Holy crap. All right. Welcome to the Philly Fan Radio. I'm John Myer along with Dan Palmieri. And Dan, happy season 3. First episode. Holy shit. We've made it 3 seasons with 12 listeners. Thank you to all our fans out there and those who are commenting on all our TikTok shit. We absolutely love it. Dan, what do you think? We made it to season 3.
12 listeners. Fantastic.
We have a ton of views. We actually almost have, I think it's like 100,000 views or something like that on TikTok. If you're not following us on TikTok, go to Philly Fan Radio. Yes, if I spell it out for you, stop watching us because you shouldn't even be there. Come on, people. Philly Fan Radio, TikTok, all highlights from our show leading back to, yes, this show, because you should watch it on YouTube because we put up all the comments that we get from all of our lovely listeners, and including the Dallas Cowgirl fans who jump in every once in a while. You know, we put up those, we put some cool things into it, but you can't capture it all, and the highlights do it. Dan, this is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. The Eagles always have something to talk about, which is always good. This seems to be our little lull period where they're not doing anything really, but I anticipate March coming up, and March 9th is free agency, and I anticipate things picking up just a little.
The Eagles not doing anything. Press conference. Sorry, a little.
Yeah. No kidding.
Just a little coffee. Seriously, what the hell are they waiting for?
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, everybody's interested to know about this guy, and yet they're really keeping it under the rug. So either he doesn't have tough skin, which is a big problem, or the Eagles PR staff is in Cabo. I don't know.
Imagine Howie walking all 12 of the changes, and I'm a little exaggerating, but in the offensive side of things, up onto the stage and be like, okay, you got 10 minutes, ask a question, and be like, what?
I think it would be easier to just stand up there and be like, shit was broke, and we're putting shit together.
Hell yeah. Hey, we know that we were not a complete team last year. Shit was broke. We didn't come out and tell you shit was broke. We threw flowers at you and planted seeds, and let me tell you what, we are going to do it and fix it. I think I would rather Howie for a press conference and Nick just, hold his coffee or something.
I don't need Nick. Nick's just up there to be a yes man.
I don't even know why he's up there. He's just answered the questions. I haven't seen the tape yet. I'm sorry. We'll address that. I love AJ. I'm sorry. We did touch on AJ. We might do it on the show, too. We're avoiding AJ stuff, but, I mean, I swear that's our majority of our highlights for TikTok.
Yeah, I can't take Sirianni seriously when he stands up there every week and says Kevin Toole is doing a great job.
Yeah.
Clearly.
We're not making any changes yet. Don't worry, people. All right, so today we're talking about rumors, trades, drafts, comments, and whatever the heck we want to, because this is our show and we get to talk about it. If you don't like it, sorry, move on, fast forward, whatever you need to do. Okay, let's talk about the comments, because I am digging this comment thing that we're doing in the beginning of the show and what people are doing. First of all, dazed and confused, like your name, 65. Are you going off Lane Johnson? But it says the difference is now he has a quarterback to work with. This comment was to KP joining Miami. Does that mean he's saying that Tua Tagovailoa was a quarterback you're working with versus Jalen?
It's, yeah, I think he's saying that. And
dude, that boy's going to be drooling soon with all his concussions. Come on.
It doesn't even matter when he's healthy. I mean, he's good. He's not great. I mean, let's not forget, I mean, they have been in and out of the lineup, but he's had a pretty good stacked offensive lineup at times when they're healthy. He's had Waddle. He's had Tyreek Hill. He had Raheem Mostert. He has Achane. This isn't like a bunch of scrubs out there, and he still wasn't putting up fantastic numbers. He was doing okay, but, I mean, when he wasn't basically a vegetable out there, he was doing good. So,
I can see that.
To say that is ridiculous. That it's like people fire back at me for having horrible takes when they're just my opinion. That's not even opinion that's given. That's just basically someone going on the ledge and just screaming out, I want to be criticized. Okay.
Have you ever seen a quarterback wear the Guardian caps? Do you think that would help?
No. Guardian, I don't know. No, I haven't seen a quarterback with it.
Tula Tunga Vailoa, may be a suggestion for you. The next comment, it says, worst take ever. And this was to my highlight in short, to the comment that Seattle wins and the kicker should be MVP. By the way, my bad for calling the kicker Justin Myers and it's Jason Myers. It doesn't freaking matter. It's not it, but worst take ever on it. First of all, kicker we know is out, but he got the most points in that game. So, sorry, I think to me that was the best take.
It's obviously, it's not going to happen, but I mean, he was the most consistent performer on the offense. Yep. So why not just throw it out there that he could be the MVP? It's not going to happen, but hey, the guy made every kick. He wasn't Jake Elliott out there missing kicks, so sure, why not make him MVP?
By the way, like Dan said, this is our show and our opinion. While we will state some facts, I felt he should have been MVP. So, to you. Okay, there's a comment here that says, Chad, from Chad, by the way. Oh, the other comment was from Teach YG. So, Teach YG, it was the best take ever. So, going on to Chad, can't really blame him for passing game being bad when you have Hurts as a QB, a lower tier thrower of the football. Okay, first of all, I don't understand this, and I'm going to go into a comment a little bit more on this. It was said, and throughout all the analysts, that Jalen Hurts is the most hated QB in the league. Why? I mean, the only time it should be really the most hated QB in the league should be Dak, and that's typically it because I don't understand why.
It is, I think hated is a strong word. I think underappreciated is definitely the word that you should say in this instance. And they're getting their statistics from the media. And there are media members, and I'm going to point out like WIP, because I listen to them and I seem to hear these outlandish takes about how Hurts should be on the chopping block. Hurts should not be, renewed his contract, which, I don't know about that, but they're just basically just bashing him constantly for everything that he does. Hurts gets no credit for the win. He gets all the credit for the loss. So you got to keep it even keel somehow. I mean, clearly the media has agendas in order to stir up listeners, and that's what they're kind of getting in this instance. But I think us as a fan base and the media, we have a severe underappreciation for Hurts and everything he's done. I mean, we could be in a lot worse situations here, and we're not because, in fact, of not just because of stacked roster, but if you got a shitty quarterback out there, it doesn't matter how good your roster is going to be, you're still not going to be able to get him the ball. I mean, for Christ's sake, let's bring up the dream team, okay? Vince Young was out there being dream team member. That season completely got blown up. It was horse shit. So it doesn't matter how many talented people you have unless you have that one person that can get them the ball and execute. And we just need to appreciate him more. And I'll be the first to say I don't appreciate him at all times. He has his deficiencies, but at the same time, to say that he's not a good quarterback and a below average passer of the ball is ridiculous. And I have like these not outlandish, but I have these statistics to prove it, and I'll go on my little rant when we're done with this.
Actually, Dan, I want to bring up that and go on this rant. And the reason I do is because when you look at Eagles and the Eagles' most rated quarterback or most beloved quarterback of the Eagles' time, at least the 2000 era, 99, a little bit in there too, has been Donovan McNabb. And he has been critical of Jalen Hurts, making his spotty comments here and there, throwing shade every once in a while. I want you to break it down for our audience, the difference of Hurts and McNabb, and how well McNabb or Hurts has played throughout the season.
Yeah, so I want to preface it by saying I understand they're different eras, okay? Sometimes the comparisons don't hold up in terms of people or passers like in the early 2000s and then now, because you'll look at Marino. Marino didn't put up great yards and stuff like that, but he played in a different era. I understand that, okay? But we're not talking about like 50 years. We're talking about a matter of 20 years. So what I'm going to get at here is McNabb, for a career, had a 59.9% completion percentage. That's not good. I mean, we all remember the days of him pretty much throwing the ball in the dirt constantly, okay? Jalen Hurts, 64.4% so far. So the edge goes to Hurts. Now, when we look at yardage, okay, and I'm looking at this for a 17-game average because I don't want to look at career statistics because obviously it's going to be skewed to McNabb because he played longer. So on a 17-game average, McNabb passed for 3,795, okay, 3,795 yards. Hurts, 3,270. But let's put that in perspective. On a 17-game average, Hurts was also throwing the ball 110 less times. So obviously your yards are going to be inflated because you're passing the ball a shitload more. So the argument of McNabb was a better thrower of the ball is starting to take on water here. So let's go further. On a 17-game average, McNabb would average 24 touchdowns. Okay? That's more than Hurts' 20. But let's look at this from a perspective of touchdowns per attempts, and that's touchdown percentage, okay? 4.4 for McNabb, 4.6 for Hurts. So what we're saying is that per attempt and per completion, Hurts is throwing more touchdowns than McNabb. Okay? Let's look at, everybody always said, oh, Hurts is turnover prone. Not lately, because he has cleaned that up, but Hurts is turnover prone, okay? 8 interceptions per 17 games as opposed to McNabb with his 12. 1.9% interception rate to 2.2 for McNabb. I'm hoping everybody is here seeing a trend, okay? Now, this stat makes me laugh because it's going right against what the commenter said about a lower tier thrower of the football. When we think of upper echelon people, we think of throw the ball down the field, vertical passing game. McNabb threw it 6.9 yards per attempt. Hurts throws it 7.5. So obviously he's throwing the ball further down the field with a higher completion percentage, with a less interception ratio, with a more touchdown percentage ratio, and about a 9, we're going to give McNabb credit. We're going to say 8.2, I don't know, math is not my strong suit, but 8.2% lower QBR with McNabb. So what I'm saying here is that anybody who wants to come out and say that Hurts is not a good quarterback needs to reassess themselves, because then you're saying McNabb isn't a great quarterback, okay? McNabb took us to all those NFC championships. Well, Hurts is 2 NFC championships and did one thing that McNabb never did, a Super Bowl. So, again, I want to hear listeners come back at me, because I'm going to get a bunch of people that come back at me and say, your take is outlandish. Hurts is not better than McNabb. McNabb was always better. Come back at me with some concrete evidence. I am going to hear the whole McNabb had Pinkston and James Thrash and Kevin Curtis, and we could go down the list to throw to, and I acknowledge that. Okay, I do. But at what point are we going to stop faulting Hurts' statistics for the people he has around him? Is that Hurts' fault? Or is that the fact that Joe Banner basically devalued wide receivers and never gave him anybody to throw with until T.O., in which he had a great year? So we can't just disregard a handful of statistics to say that McNabb was better than Hurts when nothing statistically proves that argument. So I'm going to go out on a limb and get everybody pissed off at me and say that Hurts is the best quarterback that we've had in franchise history, based on what he's accomplished, based on what he's done so far. Can things change? Will Hurts go completely down the shitter? Sure, he could. But as I'm sitting here today on February 20th, 2026, Hurts has accomplished more and averaged better than Donovan McNabb. Time's yours, people.
Now, Dan's not saying that he didn't love the McNabb era. First of
Oh,
all,
no, I loved it.
Yeah, we also loved it. I think the argument here is that everybody is saying that Hurts is worse than McNabb, and McNabb's better. He's the all-time thing. McNabb has played more games. He has more opportunities. The stats will definitely be skewed in his favor on the overall length of his tenure as an Eagles. But Jalen Hurts is percentage on a 17-game average, regardless of the receivers he has, because first of all, Hurts hasn't always had the number one receivers, hasn't always had this stuff. He just got A.J. Brown a couple of years ago. Where were his stats before that? How are things progressing? Will he have A.J. Brown going into the next season or this current season? We don't even know those factors, but we do know that Hurts is going to make the strong decision he has been completing over and over. The T.O. error, which I am only going to put as one solid year because he made it, a couple of games before he's detrimental to the team. All right. That one solid year that we went to the Super Bowl, 2004, okay, was the year that he had 14 touchdowns. T.O. had 14. That is the anomaly of it, because the only reason I remember the exact number is because Andy Reid said he'd be wearing a red jumpsuit or whatever, a stretch day, if he got it, okay? That was the only year that, other than that, I mean, McNabb did a great job with what he had available at the time. If you look at what Hurts has sometimes or only available, he's got one or two receivers, but he's got some great tight ends. Back then, what was it? Brett Celek he had. I mean, that was a great one. So
Celek, Chad Lewis.
Yeah, Chad Lewis. Those were some top-tier tight ends for
at the
McNabb.
time, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, he had great ones that he could fall down to.
Yeah, and if you want to look at it further, I mean, in the McNabb era, he had the equalizer of Andy Reid. Andy Reid at the time was calling plays. I think he switched off. I know he had Brad Childress as the offensive coordinator. There was another guy, and I can't remember his name. Marty Morningweg.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He had Marty Morningweg, but still, he had some great offensive minds coaching-wise. And let's not just throw out that Hurts had all the talent in the world around him when it comes to wide receivers, because if you remember, let's go in the Wayback Machine here, Hurts was throwing, our number 2 receiver for a while was the guy who basically couldn't catch a baby from a burning building, Nelson Aguilar. If you remember that comparison.
He had a great 1 year. That was before
he did, the Super Bowl year.
Yeah, the official Hurts era.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody criticized him for having stone hands. Even the guys like saying he couldn't catch a baby from a burning building and stuff. I mean, he didn't always have these weapons, and that's why I took it on a 17-game average, yards per attempt and everything. Because yeah, McNabb threw the ball 110 more times per year, and that equated to 525 more yards a year. But I mean, when do we start giving credit? And I didn't even bring up rushing to statistics, and I didn't even look at it, to be honest with you, because I would imagine that Hurts is more skewed in that direction. I don't know. McNabb did run in the beginning, but
he did. But then he became a pocket passer. He completely did. You didn't see him get out of it because. So just like every QB goes through it, they're kind of like skinny into it, and then in the second or third season they start to bulk up and they get a little bit of more muscle on them, so they're a little bit slower into it. McNabb had some ankle issues early on, so he stayed in the pocket a number of times.
Yeah, absolutely right. And hopefully it doesn't become a thing, but you kind of saw it a little bit with Hurts this past year, where he was a little. That
might have been designed though by KP, so
exactly.
we can't fault it. We have to really see what this coming year looks like, and is it going to have a similar feeling to it? Dan, there was some speculation. A lot of people came on. I believe the Eagles huddle. I've seen a couple of them go out on ESPN, analysts, everything. Would the Eagles draft a QB? No. I'm going to put that in there. I don't feel like what? Why? Why would you draft a QB? Hurts has got years on him, and I'll take Tanner McKee as anything. You just find somebody, Joe Schmo, as a third if you want.
Well, to even clarify on that and go further, they were saying that the Eagles, a lot of them were saying the Eagles should draft a quarterback in the second or third round. Why are we going to waste prime draft capital on a quarterback? What are we trying to prove? And everybody will say, well, they did it with Hurts when Wentz was quarterback. Yeah, they did, but we can't keep getting rid of draft capital when we have holes to fill. And you know what? To our credit, we've been drafting really well. So we've got tons of starters that we could get out of the second round. So it's my opinion that they shouldn't even look at a quarterback in the second round. I think it's a completely ridiculous take because we need young players. We got a lot of contracts coming up. We got a lot of free agents coming up. We can't fill everything through the free agency pool. We need to be able to draft and create these guys from in-house. And you're not. What are you going to do? You're going to put a second round pick out there and draft him just because you think Hurts might fail in a year or two? He's a Super Bowl MVP, for Christ's sake. Stop it. Just stop it.
Dan, how many draft picks did the Eagles have going into this year? I'm looking, I'm counting at their 8. I thought there was a lot more, unless we've traded a couple. I thought it was roughly 11.
Traded a few.
Yeah, so
we only have 5 of our own.
Yep.
Was it 5? Yeah, 5. But we're getting compensatory picks. So it turns out to be around 8. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more movement, but
yep.
I can't remember the exact draft picks they got rid of, but you got to remember they got Tank Bigsby for draft picks. Jalen Phillips, I think they gave up a 4th. I don't remember, but they did give up, one of the better draft picks. So they had a lot more. They have 8 right now, and that's more than enough to load up on because of those compensatory picks. So it's going to be interesting. They've been defensive heavy at the top of the draft these last few years. And I think you might actually see an offensive player taken in the first round this year. I don't know.
Given the feeling with Lane Johnson and Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson, that line there who is flirting on the retiring thing, you have to find their backup. I think Fred Johnson is good. I think he can handle his own in a replacement to it. But you still have to get 1 or 2 to make sure that your offensive line it would be able to handle it, and they have to replace a couple from free agency here.
Yeah, and I'd put Fred Johnson's chance of staying with the team around a 10% only, because he did come out after the season and say he is a starter in this league and he wants starter money. And now that Lane Johnson is coming back, obviously Fred Johnson's not going to be a starter. So if he wants to be a starter, great. He already tried that avenue and it didn't work out, so that's why the Eagles were able to get him back.
Yep.
But more power to him. I think he did a great job. Would I say he's an elite starter? Hell no. But they do need to start drafting a replacement for Lane. I don't know if that's in the first round. I like the positional players in the first round, and I would hope that they get this A.J. Brown thing resolved. And when I say resolved, give him his walking papers and draft a wide receiver, to be honest with you. I would like that, or a tight end, depending on what they do in free agency, because I don't see the Eagles offering the kind of money that Dallas Goedert might get on the open market, because Goedert, while a great player, he hasn't put together a 16-game season, so it's hard to gauge what the Eagles will value him at, but I know what other teams will value him at, and that's going to be top 5 tight end money.
I'm upset for Goedert. I mean, he's definitely a go-to person for her. It's always that he's got some heart, but he will demand. He still has a bunch of years left in him. He's injury prone usually in the season. He's good for anywhere between 12 and 14 games that you have it. You mentioned AJ. I know we said we wouldn't talk about AJ, but we have to talk about it a little bit because we can't help ourselves, right? We have to mention it. Dan, one of the biggest things with the whole AJ stuff is I agree with you. I think at this point you need to figure out where can you offload him to, how much, and what kind of picks and things that you can get for him. Because to be honest with you, I think he's becoming, I don't want to say detrimental to the team, but I don't know. How do you come back from all the crap that was out there and all this media coverage and attention that's dragged to it rather than the team itself?
Yeah, and it was published this past week that Derek Gunn came out and said that the Eagles have well, they didn't say no intention, but they want to keep A.J. Brown, and they're not intent on trading him. And that's all well and good, okay, from a team perspective. But the fact is that you've got a guy who is going out there last year, and he bashed the Eagles, whether it be through Twitch, whether it be through social media, whether it just be from bitching and crying about it everywhere. When do you say enough is enough? I mean, everybody loves him as a teammate. I don't understand how that's possible, but enough is enough. The guy, it was a great line. It was either on the radio or maybe even you said it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze at this point.
That was actually one of our followers.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
okay.
One of our followers posted on it, which is pretty cool.
No, that's absolutely right. I don't think it's worth it anymore. I think it's addition by subtraction. As long as you fill his spot with someone that's adequate, I don't think you're going to get a superstar, meaning wide receiver. But I think that if you get someone that's on par with, or no, a little less than par with Devontae Smith, you still have a good receiver core. And with the running back the way they is with Saquon, you still have a formidable game that you could play here. And I come from it. I've talked about the effort portion that I can't stand, but I also come at it from an aspect of he could have killed this all by coming out and saying, I want to be a Philadelphia Eagle. Instead, he came out and said, Philadelphia is my home. It's where I raised my kids, blah, 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 blah. He has never come out and said, I want to be a Philadelphia Eagle this upcoming season. The report came out that he was demanding trades since week 3 of last year. If he would have came out and said, no, that report is complete bullshit. I'm an Eagle. I want to be here. I'm excited for the next year and being with my teammates, then he could have squashed it all. Instead, he's talking about change is good. Now, it might be in terms of the offense coordinator. He's always so cryptic as to what he says. If he was goddamn direct with one thing he fucking says, then we wouldn't have to speculate. We would just take it from him. But he's not, and he leaves this all for interpretation. And it's just, I've had enough. I've had enough.
So the Eagles get back Johnny Love. He got injured in the preseason game. I thought the first year we saw him, Dan, I was like, nah, I'm not really thrilled. But the way he looked in preseason, I thought he was starting to look good. So he will be coming back to it. Now, if the Eagles draft a wide receiver in the first round, what type of speculation do you feel or see that AJ is done and that they are looking to trade him, though?
Wait, so you're saying they will draft a wide receiver in the first round before trading AJ?
Yeah, do you think that? Why wouldn't they?
AJ's gone. AJ's absolutely gone. If they're drafting a wide receiver in the first round, AJ's gone. There's no way in hell you keep him because you know he's going to bitch about it. I think if you draft a wide receiver, you trade AJ Brown prior to the draft. And there's a lot of things that have to come up.
There's so much that have to come into play here, and you have to designate that as a post-June. Is that even possible?
Right. Well, you can't designate it as a post-June if you want draft picks in this upcoming draft.
Right.
You can designate it a post-June.
It will be like a 2027 type deal, additional draft picks. So Howie will be banking some more stuff.
I just can't see. I don't know how the contracts work, but I would imagine that they restructure him if they trade him. They'll say basically, we're going to trade you to this team. We're going to have to restructure your contract in order to pull this off. If you don't want to restructure your contract, you're going to be here, and you're going to have to either A, sit out and lose money, or B, shut your goddamn mouth and just play with maximum effort. And I don't see either of those scenarios happening.
I would go with B, shut your mouth, if you were still on the team. But I agree with you, and we've talked about this 100 times. If he would just come out, squash all this stuff, you and I would stop talking about it, but even all the major networks would stop talking about it because it's a horrible. Everywhere he goes, he's making those cryptic comments. Change is good. Is he changing, meaning he's getting traded? Or is change good that he's got a new offensive coordinator, Sean Mannion? So who the freak knows what he's thinking? But at the same time, everybody's tired of it.
Yeah, it's exhaustion at this point. And it's just, you want some kind of resolution. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? What's going to happen with him? Are you going to get compensation? Everybody's throwing around Max Crosby could be a possible trade for him, which I'd love.
Yeah, but they want 2 first-round draft picks for him.
And AK, they're not going to give him
the
that.
Eagles don't have any more than 1 first round, so it would have to be another year. And why? We're concerned right now on the offense, even though there are free agents on the defense, Nakobe Dean, Jalen Phillips. I want to re-sign Jalen Phillips, not Nakobe Dean can go seek. He can go to Dallas if that's what happens. But I would put that in stipulation, this is, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think you can get Jalen Phillips on a cheaper contract than you would give any of those guys, meaning Max Crosby, and you'll get a productive player. Now, if for any reason the Raiders become the Raiders, like they normally are, and say, oh, well, we'll give them to you for A.J. Brown and let's say a third rounder, then I think the Eagles should sit back and seriously consider it. You're getting an elite player in place of A.J. Brown, but at the same time, it's all speculation, and I don't know. The only thing I could say, and you were throwing it around a little bit when we were talking before, is I don't think you trade him to an NFC team. He is still a good player. You want him out of the conference because you don't want to be in a situation where you're strengthening your opponents in the conference. So I would trade him out of the conference, which limits you to teams like Buffalo, New England, Cleveland, Raiders, all the teams that need wide receivers. So it'll be interesting, it's just what kind of take are they going to get? 1 week you listen to ESPN, they say the most he's going to get is a third round. Now they're floating around drafts or trade scenarios where the Eagles could possibly get Buffalo's draft pick in the 20s or New England's draft pick, which is the 31st. So even ESPN doesn't know what the hell they're talking about.
They just have to fill the time in the air. Dan, let's talk about some of the coaching staffs and the moves that happened from the Eagles. And this, to me, feels like a lot of moves for a team that, while it was sucky on the offensive side of the ball this past season, they still made it to the playoffs. They were out in the first round. But it doesn't feel like all this should have happened. If they were a losing team, I can understand. But literally, they got a new OC, a passing game coordinator, tight end run coach, coordinator, offensive line coach, QB coach. Like, you went Sean Mannion, Josh Grizzard, Ryan Mafferty, Chris Cooper, Parks Frazier. Like, I just think that, it's not a rebuild. I saw one of the comments from our listeners about, let the rebuild happen. I don't want to call it a rebuild because to me, a rebuild is on the player side of the ball and not on the actual coaching side of it. But this just feels like a lot to happen in a short amount of time for a team that has some great player potential, but apparently there must have been something going on with the staff.
Yeah, it's a balance between me saying it was a bit of an overreaction and me saying change was needed, which is like saying,
okay, AJ,
one's light, one's dark. There's like so much left for interpretation, but it is a lot of change for an offense that was statistically horrible this year, but they are 1 year removed away from having a pretty good offense other than the passing game, because I'll die on this ledge here and say passing game wasn't statistically great in their Super Bowl year because they didn't pass the ball because they didn't need to. Everybody shut up otherwise. That's fact. I'm laying it down. That's fact. Everybody can go to hell. But anyway, I mean, they had the same staff other than Kevin Patullo coming in as OC, and they completely bombed it. So change was necessary, and you got to wonder, all this change, was that at the direction of Mannion basically giving him ultimate power? Or was this Sirianni, which I don't think it was, saying we need a complete gut? Because Sirianni's loyal to a fault, and we know that, and a bunch of his friends were fired in this instance. Or was it Howie saying, Sirianni, we don't trust your judgment on anybody, basically, and we're going to gut your entire staff and give you all new people. I mean,
and we're
going to
pick them for you. Like, that's
yeah, exactly.
That's it. Then what is the point of Nick Sirianni if Howie's going to come in and pick all of them for it? I feel that Nick Sirianni is just a scapegoat, that there's no reason to the only reason you keep him on is so that you can point the finger and later on fire him if things go south. I really don't understand all that. I mean, we talked about it. KP went to Miami. Great. Awesome. Stoutland left. He was unhappy with the changes and the decisions and some of the things going on. You got the tight end coach left, Jason Michael. Linebacker coach Ronnie Williams went to the Raiders. DB coach Christian Parker went to the Cowboys. I mean, a lot of changes have happened in the Eagles coaching organization and staff that it also makes you wonder what this year is going to look like.
Yeah, and I keep hearing on the radio and from national people is the term rebuild. Not rebuild, a retool, okay?
Isn't that the same as a rebuild? I mean,
yeah, it's a nice way of saying, yeah, that. And everybody on the radio is like, oh, well, if they get to the wild card and win one game, that's a successful year. I don't feel that way. I understand they have a new coaching staff. I get that. But they had a new coaching staff when Steichen left. They had a new coaching staff when Kellen Moore left. They had a new coaching staff when they fired Brian Johnson to bring in Kellen Moore. They have turnover every year. So why should we accept a retool or rebuild year when we got players in their prime? And honestly, why would it be a rebuild year when all they have to do is score more than 22 points a game and they're better than last year's offense? So why is it a retool year?
I think it's just a nice way of saying rebuild, but a retool. So a rebuild is on the player side. A retooling is on the coaching side. Let's just put it that way, however they want to define it, right? We're just going to make up our own definition on this.
Either way, to me, next year, getting to the wild card and winning a wild card game, then losing divisional round is not a success for me. It's not.
I would not put that in my they did pretty good for the coaching staff they had.
Exactly.
Here's the thing. You selected another offensive coordinator who's never called plays before. There must be something in there that you understand and know that he's capable of. I hope he turns this around. I hope he is the best offensive coordinator out there. We will remain skeptical until preseason, until we see the open practice, and until game one. We're not going to understand really how well he's going to coach.
I will say this. A lot of people are saying that the offense isn't going to look overall structurally too different because it's still going to be a Nick Sirianni production. I don't agree with that. I think you don't gut the entire staff if you don't plan on making drastic schematical changes.
I would have just kept the same staff if you were going to keep the same plays.
And just got a new OC.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I don't think that you're going to see a Sirianni production offense. I think you're going to see a schematical shift. Now, I don't know what the hell it's going to look like because Mannion's never called plays and because, I mean, I'm not really familiar with the kind of offense that they ran in Green Bay. I'm just not. I don't know. Was it a West Coast system? Was it the run and gun? Was it the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan? I don't know what the hell kind of offense, but whatever. I don't think you're going to see that. I'm hoping that the schematic portion of it is going to go back to what do we do best? And that was the RPO game that seemed to disappear in the wind this past year. I just want a coach who's not tied to a scheme that says, I'm going to highlight what our players do best and not force them into a bad situation. I don't want to stick the round peg in the square hole. That's it.
Dan, do you feel that Saquon Barkley will have a better year this year than this past year based off of all these changes in the coaching staff? Do you feel that our offensive line is going to get its shit together, that the play calling is much better? I don't expect him to have a 2,000-yard year, but we need to have a running game, and I felt like the running game definitely wasn't there. We had some breakout ones, but nothing consistently. The whole getting sacked for -2 to 3 yards in the backfield just doesn't work. Do you feel Saquon is going to get back to the way, let's just say Saquon Barkley?
I think he's going to have a much better year. There were a lot of issues with the offensive line. You know, we saw a lot of one-on-one blocks. Saquon led the league in being hit behind the line of scrimmage. A lot of that's on the offensive line and not necessarily scheme, but there are things that you can counter with those issues. You can run wham blocks. You can run combo blocks. It's like they never adjusted. They basically, the entire time, were saying one-on-one blocks, you beat your guy, and they just weren't doing it. Landon Dickerson wasn't doing it. We saw it constantly. We saw it constantly from Jurgens. We saw it constantly from Tyler Steen. There are adjustments that you can make that were never made to mask those deficiencies. A lot of times we sat here screaming, run the ball on the edges. Why are we taking a dynamic running back and running him up the middle constantly? Our two strongest points are our tackles with Mailata and Lane when he was healthy. And yet we're still running up the middle into our deficiencies. Hopefully, an adequate offensive coordinator with some sort of intelligence can call that and realize that. And I think we are going to see a better shift towards that, because I don't see how it can be worse. I just don't.
I feel like they should get Saquon involved more like they did back with Kellen Moore. Wow, two mores in one sentence. But anyway, just with the quick passes or the out routes, or I don't want to say hitch routes because, we're done with hitch routes, but, getting him and quicker, because if you see Saquon sitting out there for more than a second, you know that the defense is already on him. He's going to get sacked. But why not utilize him in some of the screen plays? I felt like we used Devontae too much in those. They took too long to develop.
Right.
That they were putting him in a difficult position to get hurt, while Saquon can handle some of those efforts. And I do feel that they should have got Tank Bigsby involved a lot more. We didn't see him some games. We saw him one. However it was, I just feel that they would have had a great opportunity to split the load, maybe 70-30, 60-40, and you would have a two-headed monster there in the backfield.
Yeah, and Saquon can be utilized in the same way that Christian McCaffrey is utilized in San Francisco, in that he doesn't have to catch the ball 100 times a year, which is what McCaffrey seems to get, but he can be a viable weapon out of the backfield.
Yep.
And they just don't use it. They haven't run the West Coast screen game since Doug Peterson was around. It's just not what Sirianni's offense was built around, which is fine. You want to do something else, fine. But the something else doesn't work, especially when you take away Hurts' ability to run the ball, because that was what made him special, was running the ball. And you didn't do that a lot this year, whether it be Hurts, whether it be the OC. So it took away the one thing that he was special and made him an average player. Hurts is not, I won't say below average, because I think that's a stupid take, and I'll go back to the stats I read earlier. But I think he is I'm going to say, without running the ball, I'd say he's about I'm going to say 10 to 8th ranked passer in the league if he were just a drop back passer. Elite, no. Great, nah. Good, yes. But when you add in the RPO game and the fact that it keeps them honest, it moves him from good to great. And I think that's what we need to get at. We need to go back to that. We need to use his legs more and just, use the running backs more out of the backfield. I'm complete agreement with you about Tank Bigsby. Tank Bigsby should have gotten more of the load. if not just to spell Saquon. I mean, he should have gotten, I'm going to say, about 8 to 10 carries a game, easy. Because he was averaging like 5.5 yards a carry. So it wasn't like he was just going out there and getting 2 yards a carry. He was effective when he went out there.
One of the things that I want to see a little bit more is Jalen Hurts under center. I think the dropbacks, the RPO options, everything, he was too much in the shotgun and literally handoff right now. No downhill running, no speed, no momentum. So when you hand it and then all of a sudden Saquon's got to go, it was the two-step indecisive, oh my God, the hole's closed, my offensive line's not opening up for me, and now I got to make shit happen in the entire thing. Hell, I would have done a flea flicker back to Hurts or something and get rid of it because that shit did not work. It didn't matter. You should have tried something new. Hopefully, we can see I'm okay seeing a complete different, offense coming out here and maybe going back to, maybe dust off the Kellen Moore stuff a little bit and be like, hey, look, this shit fucking worked. Why aren't we using it? I mean, it's okay to repeat somebody else's stuff. Then you put your own take on it.
Mm-hmm. And absolutely. And I like that they did do more under the center stuff because everybody always pointed at under the center. Well, Hurts can't do it. Hurts can't be under center. He has to be in shotgun. I personally thought he was pretty effective when he was under center. I thought they had a better running game, and I thought they were able to run the play action better under center. So I don't believe that the whole Hurts doesn't do it well was applicable to this situation because I think that it was just because Sirianni didn't want to do it. So I think you can run more under center with him because I think he was rather effective when he did it.
Yep. Dan, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. We talked about it. Lane Johnson's returning. Landon Dickerson is returning as well. Hopefully 100% healthy. They got this entire offseason. And Dan, did you know that Cam Jurgens is actually visiting Colombia for some much-needed rest?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can snort all you want for that.
Why do you go to Colombia for it? Who the hell knows, but I hope he comes back revived, stress-free, and relaxed because he's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and we all saw what he was like when he was 100% healthy in that Super Bowl year. He was an elite player. We forgot about Jason Kelsey because he was so good. And this past year, it was like, oh God, where's Jason Kelsey? So you hope that he gets back healthy. I mean, the entire offensive line. I mean, Lane Johnson, when healthy, we all know he's the best right tackle in football, even though he's a little older. Landon Dickerson wasn't all-pro when healthy. Cam Jurgens wasn't all-pro when healthy. So you got to get back to that. And I actually think that you need to roll the dice and bring back Mekhi Becton, which reports are that you're going to see the Chargers release him. So he's only a year into his contract and they're releasing him. I think you bring him back. I think he was very effective when he played for the Eagles. Now, I know Stoutland's not going to be here, but I think having the all-pros around him made him that much better and made our running game that much better when you have that guy just plowing people over like he was.
Dan, the last question before I wrap things up is obviously we talked about free agents. There's contracts that are running out, everything. Jalen Carter, that's one of the biggest right on our defensive line is that he is projected to make $30 million if an extension is done. Do you pay $30 million for a year, by the way, for Jalen Carter, or do you think the others can step up and you save the money for other acquisitions?
I personally do not. I know it's going to take $30 million, and I know the Eagles are going to pay it because he is a homegrown guy, and the Eagles have made it clear they want to make the defense around him. I don't pay him that much. I don't think he's a $30 million a year player. His statistics don't back up the fact that he's a $30 million a year player. Yes, he's double-teamed a lot. Yes, it opens up everything else. But if you remember, our defensive line was getting better when Carter was out and we actually moved BG inside for most plays. And we were rolling with Davis, BG, and Moro Ojomo. Now, I'm not saying our defensive line's better without Jalen Carter, so don't say that. What I'm saying is I don't think he's a $30 million a year player. When I think of $30 million a year for a defensive tackle type player, I'm thinking of two people that deserve that contract. And that is Chris Jones with Kansas City, and I know he's not playing anymore, but Aaron Donald. Those guys are impact players. They get statistics every year. They fill up the stat book with sacks. Constant beating of the other guy. Jalen Carter has a lot of moments where you're sitting back and you're like, where's Jalen Carter? Now he'll have a lot of games where he's like, holy crap, this guy is Aaron Donald 2.0, but there's no consistency there. So I don't give him $30 million, and I know he's going to do that. I think the Eagles are going to pay it, but I feel it's a mistake because the money could be used for other areas. I think you can supplement what he gives you on the defensive side, take that money and put it into other players who can more than make up for the fact that you're not getting what you get out of Jalen Carter.
I agree with you. I think the decision to pay him that much is a little... I mean, he came into the season overweight. He wasn't at the weight that Stoutland wanted. So he wasn't there. He came into the season already being ejected from the game. Granted, that was, both Dak and his fault. He finally got up to production somewhere around week 5 or week 6 when he started losing the weight and playing a little bit more. I agree with you. I don't think you pay it. I also agree with you that they do pay it. Dan, the Eagles had this past season coming off a Super Bowl win. Do you feel that this was possibly a Super Bowl hangover with all the issues that happened when the offensive line, or was it just a mix of them and the new play caller that we no longer have?
I think the offensive line was a case of the Super Bowl hangover for sure. And what I mean by that is I don't think they got complacent. I think they were injured. And when you play until February, whatever, a lot of those people were injured, okay? Cam Jurgens was injured. Landon Dickerson was basically playing, I think, on one leg at that point in the Super Bowl and still dominated. We know Lane Johnson was injured. So those are some late surgeries that you got. I mean, hell, Landon Dickerson had surgery prior to training camp, or like right before training camp. I don't know why the hell he waited so long, but, those are some late surgeries. So you go into the year having late surgeries, you're banged up. You're not going to just magically get healthy playing throughout the year. You're going to get worse. The hope is that you don't make it so much worse that you need to sit out. And it was a perfect storm this year of just injuries. I mean, every single player that we had question marks about injuries going into the season did actually exacerbate those injuries. So it is a mixture. It was a mixture of the players just not being healthy enough on the offensive side, and the fact that we just had an inadequate play caller. We just did. We didn't have a guy who can work on the strengths and limit the weaknesses. We had a guy who was running the ball to run the ball.
Exactly. Everybody, as we wrap things up, don't forget Dan, myself, and my son Jordan are doing the Eagles Autism Challenge on May 9th. Stay tuned. We will release more information on when they are matching donations, thanks to some of the biggest donors out there. Thank goodness. It will help us reach our goals. The information will be below. Dan, why don't you close us out?
Yeah, in regards to the Autism Foundation, real quick, even if you don't want to donate, okay, show up. Have fun. Bring your kids. It is a fantastic time. If your kid's 2 or they're 18, either way, there's something to do for everybody. Fantastic time, great cause, everything. Really happy to do this with you for season 3. I hope we have a season 40, whatever, way down the line. I just like sitting here talking Eagles shit. I love responding to people because I want you to call me out on my bullshit, just like I want to call you out on your bullshit. If my opinion sucks, tell me why my opinion sucks. But you better come at me with some goddamn statistics, because I don't want to hear no shit.
Everybody, happy to season 3. Dan and I are really excited to continue to do this. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and the notification, and comment on our stuff. We absolutely love all the comments because we will highlight them in our conversation. And you better believe The interesting ones will make it, but also the compliment ones. Everybody, this has been the Philly Fan Radio. I'm John Myer along with Dan Palmieri. Go Birds!
Go Birds!